Nick Twidale from ATFX, who joins me now. I'd have to say that's a pretty solid jobs report, Nick.
That is a solid jobs report. Normally I come in and we've had a massive surprise to the top side. So I think all it does for us is it opens the way probably for the trend that we've got at the moment to continue, and that's probably a little bit more top side while things stay the same. And I put that caveat on it because things change very quickly at the moment.
Yeah, and the Aussie dollar holding up pretty well there, 71.7. You've got a bit more technical data and what you're looking at for resistance. What are you seeing?
Yeah, well, we're very close to key long-term resistance, both on the daily charts and even further out. So we're right on a long-term trend line resistance, and we're very close to the previous annual high. So I think it always feels, from a trader's perspective, you can see it there, that the market will want to have a crack at those highs, but it kind of needs the next catalyst to take us there. It's probably going to be news out in the Middle East, or about the Middle East, let's be honest. But Aussie's looking great. It's looking great against the dollar, and it's looking great against the crosses.
It certainly is. All right, let's have a look at what else we are monitoring. The yen, always a bit of a safe haven here. What are we seeing in terms of where that is moving? So
we've had some great moves in the yen, as we know, and I should have mentioned with the Aussie hit highest levels against the yen since 1992.
Wow.
So that made me feel old. But yen's looking really good from a technical perspective as well. That's the daily chart we've got there. It's sitting on that really good sort of longer term trend line that's coming in. The nice thing for traders on this, and we will probably get a dollar move in the next day or so, or even hours. When you're sitting on a good technical line like that, it's going to give both the bulls and the bears opportunities to trade. So I think if we see further good news out in the Middle East, a break of those levels there, that trend line and those previous lows opens the way for a very swift move down at least 100, 150 points.
Now, speaking of bulls and bears, it's interesting what's happening in European markets versus US markets at records, but how is the euro tracking against the US dollar?
So the euro's going okay. It's bid as well, but it's mainly a dollar story there as well. But I think you're right. The US markets have just rocketed back, and it's quite difficult to justify it. I know we've had solid corporate earnings, but we've still got this massive question mark coming over us from a geopolitical sense in the Middle East. But as you can see, euro's back up near those highs that we saw sort of at the early part of March. Again, that's not great technical levels, but if it does break above those levels, we probably could see a pretty quick run up to 120, which is great for the euro. Once again, if we start to see some dollar buying, and that's likely to come in as a safe haven play, then it's going to move all the way back to that 116.70 and then probably further south.
All right, gold continuing to trade here, you're saying, as a US dollar proxy?
Really, because every time we've seen a move in gold in the last 6 weeks, it's gone the way that old people like me don't expect it to.
You're not old.
The haven trade has removed itself. So we're seeing 2 or 3% moves in gold, and it's the other way around. It really is trading on the dollar side of the equation. So it's tricky to trade for people that are looking at it from a haven aspect. That will probably go back, and maybe it goes back if US yields retreat, but it's something that's quite difficult to predict at the moment. But once again, technicals are still working, and it's sitting near a decent support line now. So again, I think you've got a few products that could trade really nicely, and it's likely to come up on an update on the Middle East. But gold could be one, dollar yen could be one, Aussie, euro, all trading at extremes. So really interesting times ahead for traders. But volatility is going to carry on, let's be honest.
I asked another guest earlier about this. Are you still looking at silver? It feels like everyone's forgotten about silver.
I think so. I mean, we saw a lot of flow in silver in our industry, and it became the number one thing we were looking at, and we all do it. We all jump on that bandwagon. Silver's been less impactful recently. And it probably ties in with gold, to be honest. We haven't seen massive moves in gold. If you'd have asked me 7 weeks ago where I thought gold was going to be, given what we've seen missile strikes all over the place, including to Gulf part, I'd have said we were at new highs, and we're sitting in, and maybe early part of the year we've got a little bit of fatigue in both the gold and the silver markets, and I think that's why we're seeing these moves. But certainly that silver market, we saw a lot more trading than we'd normally expect from a speculative side of things, and that's, I think, what took it so high, and that's why we had some pretty sharp crashes as well.
Yeah, a lot of investor fatigue. Had another guest saying earlier in the week, you know, people have just gone through so much in the last sort of 6 years, right? So maybe we're taking a lot more of this in our stride. You touched there on gold being a proxy. What about other safe havens like the Swissy? What's it doing?
Swissy's moving quite nicely as well. That is moving more in line with its usual haven status. But we're not seeing massive moves. The dollar has really been moving well as a haven, especially on what's been going on. And I suppose it's because of the circumstances we've got with the US so heavily involved and Trump so heavily involved. So those dollar Swiss moves in particular haven't been so great, but Swiss on the crosses has been a much better haven trade.
Nick, always a pleasure, especially when you help me break down the jobs data. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nick Twidale from ATFX. That does it for this edition of The Trade. Be sure to join us next time.